let's modify our program a little bit.
Before we change anything, let me show you something. There's actually two ways to display a switch on the screen in this software. I prefer this view. It's called the flat view. That's the default, what it usually looks like. But if you click on this little tiny button right here where it says switch to tabbed view, then you can see that we can see right now what's going on if the button is pressed. And if I click on this X here, what happens if the button is not pressed. So tab view is good if you're running out of space. If you start putting switches in switches, which of course you can do, or loops in switches or switches in loops, your screen can get pretty full and you may want to use tabbed view, but most of the time I would say just click over here. We'll switch back to flat view. I think that looks better. Okay. So what I want to do is let's just put this switch inside of a 10-second loop. So let me grab a loop block and stick it here, and we are going to repeat for time, and let's do it for 10 seconds. And then let's take the whole switch block and, oop, I didn't grab it, and drag that inside our loop. Boom, like that. And let's give this a shot.
Okay, let's give this a try. Huh. So it looked like our program was behaving strangely, but actually the program is doing exactly what we told it to do. Let's trace our program and see if we can figure out what's going on. We start the program and display the forest image, then play the fanfare sound, and when we arrive at the loop it says, "Welcome, come in." Since this is a loop based on time, the EV3 will keep track of the seconds elapsed. This will also help us to understand what's going on. Let's suppose that when we arrive at this switch, the button is pressed. So we take the top path and play the high note. Now, this high note is programmed to last for a full 2 seconds. Suppose that after half a second, we take our finger off the button. The note isn't going to change now, right? Because we told it to play a high note for 2 full seconds, and it's not done yet. Suppose after an additional second, we put our finger back on the button again. The high note still isn't done playing. After the note is done, we check whether the loop is done. In this case, since we set the loop to time for 10 seconds, we check whether 10 seconds is elapsed. Nope, only 2 seconds, so the loop tells us to do it again. Now, you might think that since we removed our finger from the button for a moment, that now we should play the low note. But the EV3 just follows the program, and the program tells it to check the touch sensor and see what its state is right now. And right now, it's pressed. So we take the top path again. And another 2 seconds pass while we play that high note again. And then we're at the end of the loop again, ready to check whether 10 seconds have elapsed. We're not actually done tracing the program, but I hope you get the idea. We only check the state of the touch sensor when we arrive at the switch.
Okay, so there's actually two problems going on here. The first is that we just are spending too long in this switch, and so the button press doesn't get checked very often. So I think I'm going to change the time on each of these to maybe 0.1 seconds. And I'll change the time on this note to also be 0.1 seconds. The other thing that you may have noticed is that the lightning and the boom are always on the screen. As soon as we show the lightning and the boom, they stay on the screen. And that kind of makes sense, right? Because we never clear the screen if we go through the top path. So the only time we clear the screen is if we're in the bottom path and then we're just redrawing the lightning and the boom again. So let's just grab one more display block and put that up at the top. And we're going to tell it to reset the screen. So all this block's going to do is reset the screen. So now if we go through the top path and play that high note, we'll have reset the screen. If we go through the bottom path and play the low note, we'll still be doing the lightning and the boom. Let's download this and see how it goes.
Okay, let's see how this goes now.
Goodbye.
Great.